I'm going to show you the March calendar, and it's Ron Weasley. And this one was pretty simple. I did not do print and cut on this one, so there are a lot of little tiny pieces that I glued together, so it's a little more painstaking, but I do like the layered look of the paper, and it's just something I enjoy. But if you didn't want to have to glue him all together, you could always come over here once you have him all arranged the way you want, and you could flatten him, and that would make him a print and cut, so you wouldn't have to glue everything together if you didn't want to do that. I uploaded the March calendar, which is something, I made all of these calendars myself in Microsoft Publisher. I've made some in Photoshop. There's lots of different word processing programs that you could make them in. My original calendars I made in Canva at canva.com, but they don't have the Harry Potter font available there, so I decided to make these in a different program. So I just uploaded these into Design Space. I found this little slug under Images. I do have the Cricut access that I pay for monthly, so I have access to a lot of little files. The slug actually had a little birthday hat on, so I just used some shapes and used the slice feature to get rid of his birthday hat. I didn't want that in my design, and that's the only slug that I could find that I liked. There are 2 calendar pages. I always size them to 4 inches wide, which makes them 4.715 inches high. And I copied it to make a second one. The white one will be my chipboard, and the yellow will be my scrap of paper that I glue onto the chipboard. I always have a chipboard base because it makes it sturdier. You wouldn't have to if you had some heavy cardstock. You could do it without it. I happen to have been given a whole box of chipboard squares, so it didn't cost me anything. And that is why they're the size that they are, because the squares that I was given it allowed me to make this size exactly, and that's about as big as I could make it. So I'll go ahead and go forward. I will do print and cut this time on Ron just for time's sake, but you could cut out each piece and then you could glue them together like I did on my original calendar. So let's go. So the first thing it's going to want you to do is your print and cut. So I'm going to continue, and then I'm going to send it to my printer. It's really important to note that you must use white paper or cardstock when you're doing print and cut. Otherwise, your Cricut machine will not be able to find the lines to cut properly. It's looking for that white paper and that black line. So if you use colored paper, the print and cut option will not work. Okay, next I'm going to do my piece of chipboard. So I'm going to change my option here to light chipboard. So now I'm just going to finish my project cutting out all of the pieces using medium cardstock, and as soon as I'm finished cutting everything out, then we'll start to assemble the March calendar page. Okay, so this calendar page is going to be pretty straightforward, especially since I decided to print then cut Ron instead of cutting out all the little yellow and red pieces and all of his skin and his eyes and gluing them together. Normally that's what I do, but I did want to show you the print and cut option, being able to flatten a cut file so that you can print and cut. It does save you a lot of time, and I think it looks pretty good. I think it's still gonna look great. So we have our chipboard back and my scrapbook paper. And this scrapbook paper, the back side looks pretty good too, but I think I'm going to stick with the Gryffindor G. So again, I always use art glitter glue on all my paper crafting just because it doesn't work the paper, it dries really fast. It's just my favorite. I know everybody has their own favorite, but really props to art glitter glue that I buy on Amazon. Make sure you buy it in the warm months because they don't ship it in the winter time. So I like to just line it up at the bottom. Quick and easy. Now, March, my calendar page, I want to make this a little bit smaller. I'm going to trim off this black. I always try to just do a little bit at a time. You can always trim more, but if you trim too much, that can be bad news. And then I'm going to round my corners with this little rounding corner punch. I've had this punch for 20 years. I'm thinking it was like Stamping Up or some kind of product like that back when my kids were little. But I know you can get corner punches like that at any craft store. And then I'm going to glue that, making this my frame. And I just kind of eyeball it. You see that? Just try to get it as centered as I can. This is my little slug. Just going to glue him together. And I like to just blind place everything. Looks good. I want his wand to stick out a little bit. I think it gives it a little bit more of a 3D look. Go ahead and glue Ron down. Here's my little slug. I think he's so cute. And then this is my Eat Slugs saying. In my original calendar I cut this out of a metallic paper just because I found that all my cardstock would rip when I try to do these little bitty letters. But I just bought some new cardstock and I wanted to try it out and see if it would work. It is this Park Lane Precision cardstock I got at Joann's. I had never really purchased a higher end cardstock before, and I wanted to see if it made a difference. And I have to say I'm super pleased. that it cut out these little letters and I'm able to use them. A lot of times when I'm cutting out little things like this, I use tweezers to put it down. So I just give myself a little dab of glue on my mat. And then I just dip my letter in it a little bit, just to get enough glue on there. And then this doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just gonna put the letters where I like them. All right, and there is the March calendar page. I think it turned out pretty good, even though we didn't cut Ron out and we did a print and cut. I think that looks pretty good.